So we're going to dive right into this today. Uber and Lyft drivers, they paid you for a trip, not a trip into your personal life. Now, let's talk about these nose-ass passengers. Well, as you all know, people are nosy anyway. You know what I mean? Whether they get passengers or not. But we're going to specifically focus on these nose-ass passengers because I know a lot of Uber and Lyft drivers have to deal with this shit where you get these passengers that strike up general conversation, but then the conversation turns into a fishing expedition where they're asking a lot of questions. This and that and this, they want to know this, they want to know that. You know what I mean? And a lot of passengers, a lot of drivers don't know how to tell them, hey, man, oh, no, I don't share personal information. Now, listen at this. There's nothing wrong with being cordial. You know what I mean? Good old general conversation. Good old general conversation could be about the weather, could be about some sports that was on TV the night before, about the time of year, just anything, man, fishing, all types of just cooking, all types of general conversations, The problem comes into play when the general conversation starts to seem like a meddling. They want personal information. They're asking you questions that then went completely past general conversation. You know what I mean? Customers tend to do this. Now, a lot of you Uber and Lyft drivers, I know you all have experienced riders that's, upset, going through something. They might want to talk. And, sometimes, people just want to vent. So, they will use the Lyft driver to talk to try to feel better about themselves, or to get off their chest what's bothering them. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with listening to a customer that wants to talk. You know what I mean? And there's not even nothing wrong with offering them some advice or, to get them through whatever it is, offer them some advice or words of encouragement to get them through whatever it is they're going through so they can feel better about themselves in hopes or in hopes that they feel better about themselves. I've done that on thousands of times, and then, when I drop them off, they'll be like, man, I appreciate that, man. I needed that word today. Or, man, I feel kind of better about myself. And it's days when I want to talk to people, right? But I don't really share what's going on with me. You know what I mean? I try to keep that to myself because these are total strangers. You don't know these people. To be sharing your personal info, to be sharing things about you, things that you're going through. Some drivers, they just talking motherfuckers. And they just, hey, talk. Hey, yeah, well, hey, man, I just hold a good old conversation with them because that'll get me a bigger tip. Some drivers would do anything for a tip. They got to work extra hard to get a tip. You know what I mean? So they'll do anything to get it. They'll do anything to get a tip. Whereas for you new drivers that's trying to understand this, it is not good to share anything that's going on with you with the rider or allow them to ask you personal questions. You know, any customer that asks you any questions that you feel like personal, said with all due respect, that's getting a little too personal. I don't want to be answering questions of that nature. I don't have a problem with good old general conversation, but I feel like that question is a little bit too personal, and I don't want to answer that. Plain and simple as that. It's not complicated to hold general conversation. Now, some drivers are introverted and don't say nothing. They just sit in the car, they pick the people up, they don't speak, they don't do nothing. And they come off like weirdos, because I have had customers tell me, man, I'm so glad I got somebody that's friendly and sociable. It seems like all I get is drivers that they don't speak and they just quiet the whole time you're driving. Yeah, nothing. You're not obligated as a driver to talk to anybody. But ain't nothing wrong with being sociable. Speaking at least. Hey, how you doing? How's everything going today? Plain simple as that. Ain't nothing wrong with a little bit of good old healthy conversation. Ain't nothing in the world wrong with it. But when it goes past healthy, that's when something's wrong with it. Sharing, sometimes they ask you how many children you have. Are you married? Hey, what are you doing? How long you been driving? Do you make good money? All types of shit. You know what I'm saying? Then sometime I know some of you ladies have gotten men that want to try to pry into your personal life because they're trying to talk to you or they're interested in show interest in you or whatever. Then I know a lot of men sometimes they run into women that might be interested in you. They ask you certain types of questions and things of that nature because they're trying to pry into your personal life because they're interested in some way. I have had situations where I've had females, talk and they ask questions and things of that nature. And I don't answer them. You know what I mean? Certain questions. I don't care how fine she is. I don't answer it. You know what I mean? I just don't really share personal information. Now, if I choose to entertain some of it, yeah, you know what I'm saying, then that's fine, but it's just not good. It's just not good. You know what I mean? I'm going to give y'all a story, right? So one Saturday, I was driving and I was in an SUV. I was in a van. I was driving a Chrysler Pacifica van. So I got a call to pick up somebody. When I get there, it's like 6 or 7 people. So I'm like, 6 or 7 people? That trip says it was only paying like $8 and something. So it's some type of wedding or something, right? So it's a couple of couples or whatever it is, White people, you know what I mean? So I'm driving and we get to the stop sign en route to where they're going. I see a homeless guy standing there with a sign. So what I normally do is any cash tips that people would give me, I saved them. And I would give $1 or $2 to the people that I see holding signs and stuff. That's just what I did. You know what I'm saying? So when I rolled the window down, I gave the guy a $2. I said, hey man, here you go. And he said, thank you. I said, man, take care of yourself now. Roll the window back up. Everybody got quiet in the van. So I heard somebody say, well, yeah, I don't have no change. I don't carry cash on me. I carry cards. And then I heard I heard a lady was back there. She said, he looks like he's an able body, you know. He don't look like he needs to be holding that sign. And they was making all type of remarks. Not the whole time. I didn't say nothing. So one of the guy that was sitting in the front with me, he said, man, that's pretty cool, you know. That's pretty generous of you. Yeah, I said, yeah. He said, do you give tips? Do you give money away all the time like that? So I said, well, man, you know, I just take the tips and give them to him. Like that, right? I said, I give him $1 or $2 of the tips. He said, yeah, man, but how are you making money? I said, man, I wouldn't do what I can't do. Right? Everybody back there got quiet. You know what I mean? I said, you know, man, it's not for me to determine who needs that money and who don't need that money. That person's look or physical stature does not determine whether, or color does not determine whether I'm going to give him $1 or not. If he's holding a sign, it's for a reason. If he's out there deceiving the world, he got to make that right with God. I gave him $1 or $2 or something I had in my pocket that I could afford. Everybody quiet as a motherfucker. Stupid shit. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, it's just, you just deal with all types of stuff like that. You know what I mean? I tell you something else. So I picked up a couple up one day, a black couple. They have this great big old house, long driveway. So I backed in the driveway and I backed down the driveway and I see they was going to the airport. So I backed into the driveway because I'm pretty sure they had some luggage or something. So I'm sitting in the car. I opened the back up. So I'm sitting in the car and I see the lady standing out there holding one of those suitcases with the wheels on it. And then she's standing by the garage. Then I see her husband come out. He got one. And he's standing by the garage. So I'm looking at the rearview mirror. And I'm trying to figure out. I see the timer ticking down. I'm like, what is they waiting on? So the lady came and knocked on the window. And I rolled the window and I said, yeah, what's going on? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, are you going to load the bags? I said, no, y'all. I said, that's why I got the back open. So y'all can put your own suitcases. I said, so y'all can put your suitcases in the back. She said, oh, okay then. So they put the suitcases in the back. She's sitting right there. The husband sitting in the front. So I sense some type of tension because, you know, these people think that because we are Uber and Lyft drivers, that we are concierge and bag toters as well. You know, we getting paid cents per mile. You understand what I'm saying? To drop them off from the point of pickup. There's no physical labor included in that. You understand? No, I ain't picking up nobody's bags. You bring them, you take them. You put them in, and you put them in the back, and then you get in the car, and then you get them out, and you go on your trip or wherever that you're going. So I sense a little bit of hostility, but it's fine. So the wife, she's sitting back there. She's looking at the phone, but she's sitting right there. The husband, he's sitting right there. So I see the wife, she back there on the phone. I can sense it. So the husband, here he go. We halfway up the highway. So, hey, man, how long you been doing this? I said, so he said, how long you been doing this? I said, for a good little while. Yeah, okay. Then he said, yeah, okay. You know what I'm saying? He said, you making any money? I said, barely, but I'm getting by. You know what I mean? He said, yeah, man. He said, normally when we get a call request an Uber or Lyft to take us to the airport, you know, normally the people get out and put the luggage in the back. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, oh yeah. I said, but let me ask you a question. Most of the people that come pick you up are are they Indians or are they the black or white people, whatever? Oh, well, most of the time get Indians, but sometimes it'll be, white, white person, whatever. Um, I say, yeah, man, but look, let me explain something to you. The reason why I ask you that is because the Indians is the ones that's changing the way Uber and Lyft drivers supposed to operate. Because they the ones that do all of that because they're working extra hard for a 20% chance to get a tip. Look, and I explained to the brother, I said, look here, man, with all due respect, they pay us cents per mile. I said, do you know what this trip right here is paying me? I said, this trip is paying me $11 to drive you from here to the post office. I said, man, if I get out there and grab them suitcases and pull a muscle in my back, putting them in the car, put them out, hey, man, this ain't no rhythm compensation. Ain't nothing is involved in this. There's no insurance or anything involved in this. I'm not going to pull a muscle in my back for $11 or $12 trip for nobody. So he was like, yeah, I kind of like understand what you're saying. Yeah, I always thought that this type of work was kind of risky anyway. I said, hey, man, but this all some people have. Everybody's not at liberty to be taken off in the middle of the week, going somewhere. Some people have to do what they got to do. You know what I'm saying? So the wife in the back, here she go with her hostile ass. So you probably don't get no tips. I said, I got a pocket full of them right now. I said, I got a pocket full of them right now. And I said, I'm a driver. I'm not a bag toter or a concierge. She said, oh, okay then. And I said, yeah. So what they were calling themselves doing was trying to put me in the box, but I had something prepared for the ass. You feel what I'm saying? Comes the questions, and the questions leading to some more shit. But I had some stored away for the ass. Because, Uber and Lyft drivers are the bottom of the barrel. They treat you like you're the bottom of the barrel. They walk all over top of you. They think that because they feel entitled because they paid you for a trip to somewhere, a ride somewhere, that you supposed to be their step infection. Absolutely not. That entitled shit don't work here. You're going to get a sociable, friendly gentleman and a good quality ride. Safe travel. If you got groceries or anything, you're going to package that, put that stuff in the trunk or the back on your own, and you're going to take it out of there. Yes, sir. So for all you people, all you Uber and Lyft drivers that pull up to the store and you see an older person sitting in one of them cots that ride around the store, but yet they got 4 baskets of groceries, a whole bunch of cases of water and sodas, you just know that if they can get all that and put it in a basket, they can put it in the car and they can take it to the house. Now, you drivers, you do what you want to do, but I'm not. Now, back to the conversation I was having to you all about talking, because I'm getting ready to get off track. Hey, look, There's nothing wrong with conversation, general conversation, but you have to draw the line, because there's general conversation and personal that you cannot mix in it. You cannot allow these passengers to ask you personal questions, to go on a fishing expedition. Hey, drivers go through stuff too, and sometimes they want to vent. Oversharing is not good. Now, if you drivers feel that this is something that you don't mind doing, hey, it's no harm to it. Hey, man, go ahead and write a book. Tell everybody about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just, hey, do what you got to do. But for those of you that don't understand this, and you run into this all the time, just tell the people, say, with all due respect, sir or ma'am, I don't care to answer personal questions. Now, general conversation, I'm fine with that, but I'm not going to discuss any person. I don't want to answer any personal questions. Plain simple as that. Hey, man, look, you all have a great day. And if anybody didn't tell you today that they love you, Rideshare Real Talk do. I'm out.